Okay, so M19 converting to y equals mx plus b. I already started and didn't start the video, so I'm starting again. The 2x plus 3y equals 12. Okay, and I'm trying to get y by itself because I need it to be in y equals mx plus b form. And when I write the 2 over here on the right side, they don't look alike. The equals is in the wrong spot, the y is in the wrong spot, so everything's in the wrong spot. So we can't start identifying the m and the b until we have it in the same formula, in the same format. So we're trying to change formats. Okay, so I'll ask the question again, which is how do I move a 2x? Now you've moved this before, so I'll write this in the past since no one's answered yet. In the past, if I had, say, 4x plus 5 equals 2x minus 6. Yeah, exactly, Savannah, you're right. So how did I move the 2x? Didn't you move it by minusing it? Adding the opposite if you want to move. So you want to add the opposite. Okay, so if you want to move something, you add the opposite. So now when I put the negative 2x here, look at where your door is. So remember your door? So where do I put the other 2x? The other negative 2x. Where do I put the other negative 2x? And you guys, this gets a little confusing, so you're going to want to make sure you're not multitasking. So if any of you are multitasking and doing something else on your computer, you're going to want to stop that. Okay, because this one's kind of confusing. Okay, so where do I put the other negative 2x? Where do I put the other negative 2x? Should I put it under the 3y or under the 12? Because I have to put it somewhere. And remember, the idea is if you put something on one side, you have to put it on the other side. So where should you put it? What do you think? It's a guess because you guys have never seen this before. I don't think you've seen it before. At least not in my terms. Okay, so you're going to put the negative 2x on the other side of the door. Isaiah, you're right. You're right. Okay, so this cancels. Can you guys hear my sister and my mom? Can you guys hear my sister and my mom? Because I can go shut the door. Okay, good. Okay, so now right here, put not like terms. Okay, because what people think is they think they can change that to a 10. Okay, so those cancel. You bring this down. And I'm going to bring down the positive 3, only because if it was a negative 3, you would need to make sure you bring that down. Now, on the other side, you can't put them together. Okay, so we have 2 choices, but don't write one yet. We're going to choose to either do, I'll write this on the side over here at the top. Oh no, where should I write it? Negative 2x plus 12 or 12 minus 2x. Those are my 2 possibilities, but I'm trying to make it look like y equals mx plus b. So does y equals mx plus b have the x in the front or the plain number in the front? What do you think? Does the mx plus b have the x in the front of the b, or the b is the plain number? What do you think? Which one looks more like this format? So of these 2 that I just did, I'll highlight them in blue just so you could see them. But which one looks more like y equals mx plus b? Do you feel like 12 minus 2x looks more like mx plus b, or you feel like negative 2x plus 12 looks more like mx plus b? What do you think? I need somebody to take a chance and answer, even if you're wrong. What do you think? Which one looks better? Which one looks closer to mx plus b? Negative 2x plus 12 or 12 minus 2x? So these two blues. Because I can't make it 10 because they're not like terms. So I have to decide what order to write my 12 and my negative 2x. You guys are usually pretty good about somebody answering. Haley, how about you? Which one do you think? Negative 2x plus 12 or 12 minus 2x? Which one looks more like mx plus b? So what do you think? If the x is here? Yeah, that's what I think. Now, it is possible to do it the other way, but then it takes more steps. Okay, so negative 2x plus 12. And usually when you write it, I'll erase the plus for a minute, but you write it and you have the negative 2x and the 12, and then you have to ask yourself, but what sign do I put in front of the 12? And then you put a plus. Okay, so sometimes you think of that after. Okay, now I don't have y equals mx plus b yet. So right now I have 3y equals mx plus b, but I'm not supposed to have the 3 there. So put a box around the y again. I'm gonna erase this plus sign for a minute, not the whole 3. I can't just erase the 3. I'm gonna erase the plus sign. I'll put it back in a second, but just take a look at that. What did we do in the circumstance where we had 3y equals something? How do we get rid of the 3? How do we get rid of this hug? Oops. How do we get rid of this hug? What do you think? How do we get rid of a 3 hugging the y? And I'm changing colors to red. How'd you get rid of the 3? And I can give you a sample on the right side. What if you had 3x equals 19? What would you do to both sides? How would you get rid of this 3? How do you get rid of the 3? Ivan, what about you? Isaiah, good. He saved you. Isaiah answered. Okay, so you're going to divide by 3. So I'm going to put a little plus here. Okay. Okay, but I am going to divide by 3. And then when you divide by 3, you're going to draw the division on each term. Okay, so you're going to divide each term by 3. Those 3's cancel, and I now have y by itself. That's what y by itself means, is y on one side of the door with nothing else anywhere near it. And we math teachers use that term all the time, get y by itself, get x by itself. But I found that students don't know what we're talking about. So that's when I came up with the your y or your x, and you want to be alone, and then you kind of see it better, and the door. Okay, now the negative 2/3 x, you're going to write the negative 2/3 in the front, and then the x to the side, but it has to be half or above. Okay, you can't put the x down here. Okay, so that's not going to make any sense. So you need to have the x like halfway up where the line is, or higher. Okay, and then this is a division sign, right? So what is positive 12 divided by 3? So that would be positive 4. Okay, so this is one answer. This is, you have it in the right format now. But they wanted you to find the slope and the y-intercept. So this is like the homework that you just did. Okay, so you convert it into the format. And then m is the number in the front. And b is the number in the back. So we're going to write slope, m equals, and y-intercept. And y-intercepts always have a 0 here. Okay, so my m is negative 2/3, which is already a fraction, so you're done. And then the y-intercept is 0, 4. The thing that people make an error on y-intercepts is sometimes they don't notice that it's negative. I can wait. I'm just going to zoom out so you can see. And to answer the question that you guys often have, which is how many examples, there's 3. Okay, now this is the first time you've seen it this summer. I'm not sure if you've seen it before, but the first time you've seen it this summer. So definitely, it's kind of complicated. And it reminds me of those problems, you know, the substitution elimination questions where somebody said, hey, this problem takes half the page, right? This reminds me of that. Now, usually they're also make you graph it, but we'll do that tomorrow. Okay, we're going to graph these specific ones tomorrow. But usually they'll say graph 2x plus 3y equals 12. And the first thing you do is convert forms. And then you label the slope and the y-intercept, and then you graph it from there. Okay, so this part right here, let's put it in a bubble if you wrote it down. I do recommend you writing anything down the teachers write on the board. Over here, I'm going to put divide by 3. Okay. But that's not really part of the example. It's just to try to find where in your mind you've moved a 2x before and what did you do in that situation. Because you don't want to be thinking of every single math problem as different math problems. You want to be thinking of how they link to other math problems. Okay, so we're ready for example 2. Okay, so example 2. Okay. So we have 4x plus 3y equals negative 15. And it says find the slope and the y-intercept. So we're converting forms. So first thing to do is put a box around y. Here's your door. Who needs to move? Not how do I move it, but which term should I write the word move on top of? Yes. So I'm going to write move on top of that one. Now, how do I move it? That's how I'm going to get rid of the 3. But how do I move the whole 4x? Yeah, and that's what's confusing. It's very confusing because if I wanted to get rid of the 4, I would divide. But if I want to move the whole 4x, I have to subtract. So it's very complicated. That's why I'm trying to go slow. I know that first lesson I went pretty fast, but this one needs it to be a lot slower. Okay, so to move, you're going to add the opposite. Okay, so let's write that over here. To move a term, add opposite. Okay, and that's what we did when we were solving equations where you had x's on one side and x's on the other side. It's not exactly the same situation, but you do it in the same way. Okay, then you subtract the 4x from the other side of the equals. These are 0, which has occurred to us in a lot of things, in equations, in elimination. Those are mostly them. And then here again. Okay, bring this down. 3y, positive 3y technically, equals. And then you have to choose the order, but put not like terms. Because what some people in the other class did on this lesson is they made that negative 19x. Okay, but these are drinks. And these are hamburgers. Right? So they're not like terms. Now you have to choose which to put first. The 15's on the top. So normally I would put the 15 on the first, but then it doesn't look like y equals mx plus b. So let's put aim y equals mx plus b. So the x is first. And then the plane number is second. So the plane number is second, the m is first, or the x is first. So I'm going to write negative 4x minus 15. I cannot put them together. It does not become 11. It does not become 19. I can't put them together because one has an x and one has a number. I chose to put the x in the front because I'm aiming for y equals mx plus b. And it's looking pretty good, except I'm still being hugged. So how do you get rid of that hug? How do you get rid of a hug? You guys, how do I get rid of this hug? Right? Okay. It's funny because in class, when I get rid of a hug, I like karate chop it off me. So I am kind of attacking the hugger. So I karate chop the 3 off me like it looks like a division sign, but we're not in like physical class. That you can't see. Okay, so divide by 3. Okay, divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. So you have to divide them each by 3. Hey, what happened? How come? Was that my blue? Okay. So y equals, now sometimes the 4 divided by 3 actually divides. So sometimes it's like 4 divided by 2. And you'd say, oh, well, 4 divided by 2 is 2. But this is a fraction. And then sometimes it reduces. But in this case, it doesn't. And you put the x like to the side. So the only thing I really did is I moved the x from the m. And then what's negative 15 divided by 3? Negative 15 divided by 3? Uh-huh. Okay, now it's in the right format. So write y equals mx plus b under it. You're trying to train your brain to see how formats work. The y's are the same, the equalses are the same, the x's are the same, right? So it looks like the m is right here and the b is right here. But the only reason we can do that is because it's in the right format. So the equalses are lined up, the y's are lined up, the x's are lined up. We can't do that from the original because nothing's lined up. Okay, so slope, m equals, and the reason why you're writing the word slope and the m equals is you're forcing your brain to see that m is the slope. There's another question that sometimes is asked. I don't know if we're going to do it. I think we might do it later this week. But it asks you to find the slope between 2 points. And when I start writing the formula out and I write m equals, then people know what to write for the formula. But before I write the m equals, they forget that the word slope is the m equals formula. And that's not what we're doing. We're doing it a little bit differently. We're doing it with y equals mx plus b. But you want to imprint in your brain that slope is m, especially because they don't have any shared letters. Okay, so my m is negative 4/3. And then my y-intercept is a coordinate. Some teachers like them as coordinates and some teachers like them as single numbers. I have you write them as coordinates. Okay, so 0 is always in the first coordinate of a y-intercept. And then what do I put for the second number? What do I put for the second number? Mm-hmm. So you kind of have 3 answers. The one that's in the right format is one answer, and then the slope and the y-intercept is a different answer. But if you look at this compared to the homework you just did, from my first box down is exactly what you did on homework 18. Okay, but then the formatting change is what's new. And then what we're going to be learning tomorrow is how to graph using the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so we have one more of these examples. They're pretty long. You might need a new page. make sure. Okay, so my last example for today, not for today, but for this session, and then we're going to start homework. And you know, some of your registration appointments are this week, so just make sure you let me know. I know that one question told me when they were, but yours is Friday. Okay, so that's good. So that's not during our
Yep.
class.
Mine is that one day.
Is it which day?
20.
Okay, so 20 would be next week then, right?
Waiting. Yep.
Okay, so 20 would be next week. Okay. And then Ivan, you already had your meeting, right? And then Dean, right? How did the meetings go? Did it work online? I mean, you guys have never had those meetings before, but it was quick. I would suggest taking a picture of your schedule because they show you your schedule, right? And then I asked Ivan, hey, what's your schedule? Who do you have for math? And then he didn't know because probably the schedule went by so fast. You know, and then in my Aries system, for some reason, I'm not able to see your schedules. Usually you get your ID, but then I don't. So, Ivan, how do you get your ID then? Because do they mail it to you or you go pick it up when you go get your books? Oh, when you pick up your books. So you have to make sure you have your hair brushed when you go pick up your books. Ivan. So, oh, so they take a picture of you when you go pick up your books. Okay, so make sure you're looking like, you know, that's going to be your ID all year. So brush your hair. Savannah, did you just log out and log back in or have you been gone a long time? Savannah, did you just log out and log back in real quick? Or have you been gone for a whole example? I just need to know if I should scroll down to show you a whole example. I don't think so. I think you were in the last example. Yeah, you were answering me. So never mind. Yeah, you were there for the very last thing I wrote. Okay, so this is our last example, and then you're going to do homework until 11. Okay, so put a box on Y. Okay, and remember what the box is doing. The box is training your brain that when you see the box, that's you. You're trying to get rid of everybody else. 2 is hugging you. The sister's kind of in the front for some reason, except that's a negative, so that's like a brother. So write the word move on top of this one. You're going to do this, change it to y equals mx plus b form often in math. I think in every math class you have from now until the future, you're going to have to change things into y equals mx plus b form. So if you put a box, your brain's going to say, oh, that's what Miss Nichols showed me. You know, we're not going to have done it too long. We only do it for an hour. But I still think that you'll remember. And then you'll just flip through your notes and then find it. Okay, so make sure you keep your notebooks. Okay, so how do I move a negative 5x? I wanted to move to the other side because I wanted to go to the other side of the door. Okay, so you're going to add 5x here, and then you're going to add 5x under the 14. This cancels out because it's 0, but usually we don't write it. Oh, you guys, you know what? We need another example. Why don't I have any example where that's negative? Really? Okay, guys, we need to change this example because I don't want to do another one. Can you guys change that example right there? I need this to be a minus. I need an example with a negative. I also would have liked an example where it works out better, but it's very odd. I don't know why. Maybe I don't teach you guys that until a different one, but I don't, yeah, we need the negative there. So we need a negative, okay? Yeah, so this is our last example. We just need one with a negative so that you could understand what to do. Okay, so can everybody change that 2 to -2 instead? Okay. Okay, so bring down this -2y. I just need an example with a negative. And then 5x plus 14. You could put the plus in the front if you want. And then what do I do next? What do I do next? How do I get rid of the hug? How do I get rid of the hug? Okay, somebody has to answer. Yes, divide by what? Yep. Yes, except I almost agree with you. Yes, exactly. So -2, -2. So I just wanted to show you an example where you're dividing by -2 instead. Okay, now let me write a little note over here. So write this on the side. For multiplication and division, same sign you get a plus, opposite sign you get a minus. So a positive divided by negative would be negative. And then you have 5/2, and then you put your x. Yeah, so I made it, Ivan. I changed it to -2y because I didn't want to do a fourth example. I needed an example with a negative in front of the y. Yeah, so I changed it. So you guys make sure you notice that I changed this one. I originally wrote a plus because that's what I did for the other class, but I really need it to be a minus. So we could save ourselves an example. I needed to show you what happens if there's a negative there. Okay, so this one, you kind of move things around, kind of, I guess. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, so you put that in the front. Then the 5/2, then the x, and then what's 14 divided by -2? What's 14 divided by -2? We're not done yet. I'm just waiting. What's 14 divided by -2? Anybody? 14 divided by -2. How many 2's do you need to make 14? Yeah, -7. So that's -7. And then you write all this down. Circle this. Circle this. And then you can write your answer. The m is -5/2. You don't put the x with the m. So let's put a little message here that says don't put x in the m equals. So m is just equal to a number. Okay. And what's the y-intercept? 0, comma what? What's the y-intercept? Mm-hmm. And then we should changing the format. We need to put a box around that one too. Okay, so I just need to write one more information fact. Let's put a star. If your slope reduces, you must reduce. Okay, so let me show you. So if your m is negative 15 over 9, for example, you're not supposed to leave it that way. So what would you divide both by to reduce it? And don't write one big division. You have to write a division at the top and a division at the bottom. Yeah, so you divide by 3, and you get negative 5 over 3. So you would have to do that if it reduces. Okay, so here, let me hit stop because I always forget to hit stop on the recording.